Hello, this is Seabass and welcome to another video. So I've been fishing for almost a year now and it all started at Lake Mead. So Lake Mead is a great place and there's plenty of fish to catch. But I just wish when I was starting off I had more guidance of everything in general. I just wish there was someone that could answer my questions, like what line I should use, what bait I should use, where should I go fishing at Lake Mead, what times are best to go fishing, where do I get the bait? And these are all questions I'm going to do my best to answer in this video. Now you're probably going to want to start off with buying a fishing license. Now for residents in Nevada, a year-long fishing pass is $40, a one-day fishing pass is $9, and every additional day you want to add to that one-day fishing pass is $3. Now you can pick up these fishing passes at Bass Pro Shop, many of the Walmart locations, and online. I will leave a link in the description below to get your fishing license online. Now for the fishing rod and reel, you don't need to get anything too fancy nor expensive. I would recommend getting a spinning rod that is not enclosed, and a fishing pole around 6 feet will do fine. When I first started off, I bought a 5-foot spinning rod from Walmart for $13. I still use that rod to this day, and it doesn't really perform any better nor any worse than my other rods. So moral of the story, you don't really need to go all out when you're first getting into this hobby. Now there's many different types of lines when it comes to thickness and material. Now depending on the situation, you might want to use different line. For example, with clearer water, you would want to use thinner line so your line is less visible to the fish. With more murky water, you could get away with using thicker line, so it's easier just to reel the fish in, and you have a less chance of the line breaking. And this can get pretty confusing. I would recommend using 8-pound fluorocarbon line. The brand doesn't really matter. You mainly will be catching striped bass and catfish, and 8-pound fluorocarbon line will do the job. It's not too thin and it's not too thick. Now for a hook size, go ahead and grab a size 1 or a size 1/0. You will see why later on in the video. And then last but not least, you're going to want to go ahead and pick up some split shots. These are weights that you crimp onto your line and it's just going to help you cast your line out farther. Now let's go ahead and talk about bait. My favorite bait is anchovies. They're really good at catching stripers and catfish. This is why I mainly catch those fish. Now when I say anchovies, I don't mean the smelly ones that come out of a can. I'm talking about anchovies that are specifically packaged for bait. And this is something that would have been really helpful in the beginning when I first started fishing, because some of the last gas stations at the end of town when you're driving to Lake Mead literally sell anchovies for bait. Like, how convenient is that? This gas station right here is on Los Feliz and Lake Mead, and they don't just have anchovies, but they also have worms, shrimp, and liver, and also a little tackle area where they have bobbers, swivels, weights, and some other miscellaneous things. And if you live in Las Vegas and you're gonna drive to Lake Mead, you're gonna have to pass one of these gas stations. So stopping by to get some bait won't be a problem. I'm gonna go ahead and leave all the addresses for these gas stations in the description below, and sometimes they run out, so it's always a good idea to call and ask if they ran out. Now, what can we catch at Lake Mead? So for me, I mainly caught channel catfish and striped bass, also known as striper. Some other common species are bluegill, sunfish, the common carp, shad, crappie, largemouth bass, and smallmouth bass. So something that you're going to want to remember is every species you catch has a limit. So as you can see in this picture, you can only catch 6 black bass, which are basically largemouth bass and smallmouth bass. And for striped bass, there is no limit for striped bass under 20 inches, and most striped bass you catch will be under 20 inches. Now let's say you do catch a striped bass over 20 inches, you can still catch 20 striped bass over 20 inches before you reach your limit. Now this is because there are too many striped bass in Lake Mead. In fact, a lot of the striped bass that I catch in Lake Mead are pretty skinny. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description so you can check out the limits for each species in Lake Mead. Now there's a lot of places you can go to at Lake Mead. It's a pretty big lake. My favorite place to go to is Echo Bay, but there are other places like Willow Beach and Government Wash. Keep in mind for Willow Beach, you need something that floats, like a boat or a kayak. You're not really going to catch anything from the shore, or at least not in my experience. Now, there's not much to putting the anchovies on the hook. What I like to do is I like to cut the anchovies into smaller pieces and put several pieces of anchovies on my hook. These anchovies come off your hook fairly easy, but when you get these anchovies, they are frozen. So as long as you keep them in a cooler with some ice and you keep them frozen, they do stay on your hook easier when you cast them. When they melt, they come off the hook a lot easier. And at this point, make sure you have your split shots crimped onto your line with pliers. This is going to help you cast your bait a lot farther. So this is everything I wish that I knew when I first started fishing at Lake Mead. I hope my fellow locals find this video useful. And if you liked the video, if you can give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.